So we'll kind of start with the trees just because I talked about the trees. These came back this year. These are woodlands. So these are bottle brush trees. What makes them unique, and you can find trees out there, but just be mindful. I'm not saying you have to buy idea-ology trees. But you want to find trees that are made out of natural materials. So these came back this year. They're a staple in the line, which is good. These are made out of a natural rope material. So they will take ink beautifully. You can use inks. You can use ink pads and mist it with water and roll it around. You can use food coloring, any kind of water-based colorant you can use. Could you use alcohol ink? Yes, but you're going to waste your ink because it's going to dry too quick. So stick with something water-based. You can dip them, spray them, roll them. So here we have the two SKUs. This, of course, are the large tree lot where you get 3 of the large tree. Then we had this size, which of course are the tree lot where you get a large one, 2 mediums, and 2 minis. So yes, these came back and they are available, but we have a new tree in town, and a shout out to Tracy. Gosh, I don't even know how many versions of this SKU we sampled, but here's what I wanted. I wanted a skinny tree. Why? Because I think sometimes in makes, you want the ability to create more of a forest. Maybe that's going to be in a vignette box or a glass dome. So these are Woodlands Alpine. So if you're looking online, they do look distinctly different, but I just want you to be aware of kind of what you're getting. Same height, but it's a much skinnier tree. And here's kind of a little sample or a little kind of breakdown of the tree. So these are the current woodlands, or woodlands that we've done in years past. And these are the new Alpine. So the Alpine, 2 sizes, you get 2 of this and 2 of this. And you can see it's a much skinnier tree, but still made out of that same material. I wanted something that didn't look like a rocket ship. So they really did a great job because these are hand shaped. And I really love that. These are wired, so you can still bend and shape them, but I love those Alpine trees. And you can see when I kind of get in my making mode, I just make trees. So if I'm getting my trees out and my ink sprays and glitter and texture paste and all that, I just like making trees of all different colors, because you can use, like this one is done with oxide and ink spray. So that's what gives it like that little kind of snowy look. This has distressed mica flakes on it. This one, of course, just distressed stains. If I'm going to put it in a bucket, sometimes I'll glue them in a bucket, or you can see I have one on a tree stand. Sometimes I'll leave them plain, but I like to make, especially if you get messy, because you'll want to probably wear gloves for trees, and you can just create a lot of different things. I saw a comment, skinny trees for carrots. You know, you're already thinking spring. I like how you think. I like how you think, Debbie, because you're right. These would make wonderful carrots.
Okay, you said you don't have to buy these, and I get that.
Yes.
But not all trees are created equal.
Correct.
We learned that the hard way.
We did, because we've tried bleaching them. We've tried getting stuff that takes color and then it wipes off. But also keep in mind, if these don't sell, these don't come back. So
right,
I want them to.
They definitely make a difference.
Absolutely.
These trees,
they sure do. Yeah. So next we'll talk about some papers. Let me just kind of bring this stuff in. I've got all the papers, and then I've got a little tray of trinkety bits as well. So just to wrap up the things that did come back, so I talked about woodlands. These SKUs also came back. So if you're familiar with bubbles and baubles, we do bubbles for Halloween, which are clear, and we do baubles for Christmas, which are perfect when you use alcohol ink, because they make the most amazing mercury glass ornaments. You'll see that in the makes, where if they look like all these vintage ornaments, they're made with baubles and alcohol ink, and I've done a bazillion videos on how to quickly color these. And then, of course, tiny lights for Christmas. How do you know they're for Christmas? Well, the packaging is kind of a winter vibe that Chris does. And then, of course, we've got that little icon that shows these are multicolored lights. So you'll see in the makes that there's a combination of tiny lights, which are everyday, and those are just the white, the warm white lights. And then the Christmas ones are the multicolored lights. So that's it. The rest of this is all going to be new, which is really good. All right. So I'm going to slide this over just to create a little bit of space. We'll talk about the papers. So first up, backdrops. So backdrops, we updated it. We kept a lot of the same art, but we did bring in some new art, and you'll see on the makes. There are some new favorites for me. We tried playing around with some textiles and fabric. So you're going to see in here, in addition to crackle and wood grain, there's even a great brick, much like we did for Halloween. Gosh, I tell myself every time, do not open the package, Tim. Do not. But I can't help it. I'm going to. Just open it. It doesn't matter. I did. So we've taken some art from like worn wallpaper, because that did not come back. But I also didn't see any Christmas wallpaper available. But if you see Christmas wallpaper out there, you might want to pick that up because that did not come back either. But we did take some of the art and put it into backdrops. So it's a different size and it doesn't have that texture. But we also brought back, of course, some favorites. But here's some of the new things we tried where we scanned in different fabrics like wool felt to create some cool backdrops. Isn't that great? Really nice to cut up to create a woodland vibe. I'm going to see if I can find the other art real quick. There's a lot of newness. Oh, I love this one. It's like a gift wrap that we did. I'm just trying to find, oh, there's another fabric one. Look at that. See, isn't that cool? It looks very, very textured and fuzzy. Brought back some plaid, some holiday photos. Look at that. Great big winter photos. These are perfect for journals. A lot of things that's scanned in, I think, from a lunchbox. Gosh, we scan in so much stuff. Little gift box. There's a tartan. That's it. I love this photo. Oh my gosh. Chris worked endlessly on this photo. This is an original photo, but this is not how it was laid out. It had like a half of a person in it, kind of standing behind the sign. Anyway, I just love what he did because it looks so, oh my gosh. His Photoshop skills are epic. Okay. Oh, there's another fabric. Look at that one. Yeah, it's like a little gray flannel. There it is. It's the last one. The brick. Again, inspired by Tami's make. She does a lot of brickwork with texture paste and stencils. So I know we did a black and white brick for Halloween, but how great to create this type of brick paper. Isn't that? Look at that. Anyway, so new backdrops, but there's also some favorites in here as well. So we have those. Then let's go into here, our sticker book. So sticker book, really fun. So of course we did our clipping stickers. So we brought back clippings, but we also did, I think we did did we do a new page? No, not of Christmas, but this stuff is new. So we went into some of our retired tapes, brought them back as stickers because I know a lot of people like to just do quick border strips on cards or on the edge of a journal. You can take these because these are already die cut and they're stickers. You can cut at the little ribbon flag end if you want, but we did these. But this was my favorite. Like I said, I was very sad to see the label stickers go. The label stickers, of course, are embossed plastic. These are not embossed or plastic. These are stickers, but they still have that same art. So I took the art from there, put it on here, but now we were able to change up the colors. So we have that really nice dark green and white, and we have the red and white. And you'll see from the makers, especially Paula, because Paula's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I love these. I'm like, I told you. They're really, really great to make, especially if you're doing cards, because you've got all these sentiments that can go quickly on there for the stickers. And then the bottom has just some different labels that you can use for quick packaging. So that is the new sticker book. And we try to date it now. So if you're purchasing online, again, I didn't see the sticker book from last year available anymore. It sells out usually pretty quick. But 2023, that's kind of how you know. We try to do that moving forward.
I don't know how you did it, but you got that red perfect.
It's good.
That's the best red.
It's good festive red and really good dark yummy green. Very good. But it coordinates with all that. So that was important. And then we have these layer frames. So layer frames, if you're familiar with this, this is a coated material. We have layer frames in our everyday line. And so we thought, how fun would it be to do them for Christmas? Because we love seeing how you guys use these frames. So they are done out of a coated paper. So they're thicker than regular paper, but it has a nice coating so you can do crayon, easy ink blending. They're all sewn. So all of the tails just come out here. You can trim this off if you want. You can tie a tiny bell or a charm onto it. That's why we leave the threads. But what's nice about inking these is that the thread will take the color of your ink. So if you went in with distress ink, you could blend it. And if you wiped off your distress ink because it's coated, you could let it dry or wipe it off. Then just the thread would have color. But we've got some really great collages. So this was inspired by the art of those pocket cards that were retired. So remember the pocket cards I just shared with all the, that's what we did. We're like, oh, we're going to take that art. So that's what I was saying. We tried to find ways to maybe reimagine or bring it back because we loved the art of it. But these make great card fronts if you have a Christmas photo that you want to put on a card, or if you just want to use these for journals or even cards, because you can also make little pockets by not adhering the top. You can do quick shakety shakes out of this. How simple is that? Do your little acetate in there, foam tape, put it in. You've got a quick shakety shake window and you already have all the art. So there's a lot of ideas for these layer frames for Christmas. Then we have ephemera and layers. So again, updated stuff. We've got just some new elements in there, new components that maybe we found throughout the year, vintage stuff that we added in. some great new little price tags and just little snippets of goodness. That's what I love about having all of the ability to take vintage stuff and Chris going in and saying, yeah, I got this, watch, I'll make magic out of it. And he does. So there's all sorts of trims, little flashcards, that's ephemera. And then layers, so the difference between ephemera and layers, this is a thinner, just a regular cardstock like we do for backdrops. This is a little heavier and coated, but this one is packed. 95 pieces in this. So this is layers and paper dolls. So this is what I was saying, that we still have paper dolls. We have some portraits in here. We have some favorites, actually, some favorites that we wanted to have in here, but this thing is just, it's packed with stuff. So there's some frames, there's great peppermint stick, there's some snapshots, these great little edges that you can use for borders and trims. I mean, really, it's just, there's some botanic things because last year we did layers botanical and layers regular Christmas, and both of the botanical ones just gone. So we wanted to throw in a little bit of everything. There's some paper dolls. Oh, there's a little photomatic. Look at this little winter one. This is a favorite. So these are bigger. She's been in previous years, but much smaller as a photo booth. So that's larger. Then we've got, again, some portraits. So you'll recognize these. We just really like these. So we had these for Halloween and Christmas because to me, they just had a great crossover appeal. Then we have some groups, all of them in winter attire. Paula does such a great job finding and curating the most amazing photos that we can use. Look at these little lumberjack guys in their plaids. Then we've got some scenic postcards. We still have a couple of box frames, it's packed. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is the difference. And again, it's going to say Christmas 2023. I can take that. Thanks, Mario. Sure. Not bad. All right. And then we've got this one that I talked about. This is our baseboard, and I did a little sneak when I did the Ranger one, and it got people like going crazy for it. And I don't blame you because it's really good. I mean, you can see the bag is just, we even had to do a special kind of plastic to keep this bag from bursting at the seams. It needed to be a little stretchy. This is baseboard transparencies. So what you get in this, it is packed. And once you take it out of the package, it's not going to fit in there again. I mean, look how it's packed. Okay. So yes, this is the one with the windows and doors. I wanted to talk about it because after I did that teaser, we got a lot of messages going, where's the windows that you shared with the transparencies? And okay, so this thing, baseboards, of course, are printed chipboard. You can see how thick these are. So this is inspired from an old pencil that we scanned in. This is a vintage lumber ruler. This was in the lumberjack plaid flat lay for distress. There are some frames in here. A couple of those slide frames that came back. We've got a bunch of different stars that you can punch out and utilize however you want. I love the candy stick. So same candy stick that we did in the ephemera, we also did in baseboards. You can see a lot more sentiments because we had people ask for way more of these because they're just used on so many different types of makes. The reason that we kept this a little longer is that you could cut the end, you could add hardware heads, you could add fasteners. Maybe you want to stitch around them, not really through them because they're thick, but you can stitch around them. So we kind of wanted to give you a little head start on each end to allow you to attach it to your makes in different ways. So we did increase those. Then our doors. So now we've got a red and a green door, very, very festive. And this is where that pine twine came in perfect. It made the most perfect little wreaths, but so if you have it, you can use it. But I love the doors. And then we get into these windows, and this is what I was saying. Oh, I really like this one too. That's just kind of a little cigar band. I love the colors of it. So this is where we really pushed the factor. We learned a lot of what we were able to do and not able to do on the windows. We have baseboard windows in our everyday line with idea-ology. They're a little bit more distressed and grungy. We also have windows in Halloween that are different shapes, also grungy. For this Christmas pack, these are completely unique. So these windows are not in any of the other packs. They're specifically for Christmas. And we were just inspired by storefronts. Paula travels to the UK a lot, and I mean, it's very inspiring to see the architecture in the windows and especially the little shops. So in this one, we've got a couple of little windows. Now these could be cut. If you're really good with a craft knife, you could go in and cut this down the middle. You can cut here and you could have these open if you want to. Or you can cut it in half and just use just an arch if you're going to put it against something, or you use it as it is. Then we have this large, it's almost like a picture window. Just envision this in front of a vignette, because these are also sized for the vignette boxes. This fits the large rectangle, the medium rectangle, and the square. But maybe you want to put a tree in there. And so we thought a really big picture window, if you're looking through it and you see one of the woodland trees, that's why we did this big window. And then these are more the storefronts or the shop. So we've got this red one. Now this could be used this way or this way. It depends if you want like the pediment at the top or you want the sill at the bottom. So you do have a little versatility there when it comes to that red window. And on that one, this is the one that I shared just using a transparency. And again, I use shrink plastic. And let me clarify that. When I talk about using shrink plastic as a transparency, I'm not shrinking it. I'm actually just using the material, because to me, shrink plastic is a thick, clear transparency. And I like that I just like how, look how shiny it is. It looks way more like glass than just acetate sheets, in my opinion. So when I talk about shrink plastic, I just want to clarify that I'm not shrinking it. I'm just using the sheet as it is, but look at that. It's like a window. Here I went in with a little distressed snowfall grit paste to add the snow to the windows. Really cool. And then we've got this big one, this big shop window. And that was the inspiration for these transparencies. So these transparencies that you get, these are kind of like leaded windows, vintage inspired, 2 different scales. You've got the large and the small. We designed them this way, actually, to have that, I'll bring this one up, like that kind of leaded window in the back, so you could have the big one, or maybe you want them a little smaller. You could go in with alcohol inks or Copics or Sharpies to make a stained glass window. But I saw when I was setting up last night a make that Marina did that was very, very clever. And I didn't even realize it until I looked at them like, what? Because these are printed as an opaque black, they start with a base layer of white. So that's how they get a color on a transparency to not be see-through. That's why the black is opaque. They print in white and then print in a color. But she flipped hers. And so when I saw that like white window, I'm like, that looks so great. That's even more wintry. So I didn't even think the fact that it was, I mean, I'd like to say, hey, we did this to be double-sided. We didn't, but you can. So if you flip it, it's going to be white on one or black. Very clever. So those would be the windows. And again, you know, any of your windows, this is, I think, one of the Halloween ones. You can use any of your transparencies, including like this was shattered, and you could do your snowfall grit paste. This is with the speckle stencil. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but this is all in that pack. So now the mystery is hopefully solved of where do all those things come from. I want to make sure I just take it out. So there you go. It's a great pack. Great pack. So that is all the paper stuff. Thanks, Mario. Now we're going to get into the trinkety bits, and then we'll head into the makes. Thank you. Look at that. Look at that beautiful backdrop.
Welcome.
Okay. So getting into the elements, we've got a lot of different fun trinkety bits that are in idea-ology. Gosh, I just love it. I love embellishments. I love trinkety elements. There we go. Move that. Oopsie. All right. So here we go. We'll start with metals. So this is Deck the Halls. This is adornment. So here you can see those wreaths. We've got a couple of wreaths in there. And then we went and brought back some classics. These are poinsettias from several years ago that are retired, and I absolutely love this. And then we have these holly leaves. And take a look at the holly leaves, the dimension of that, the texture. So beautiful. So cool. I love the definition of this, because when you glue it down onto a make, you just have that dimensional holly leaf. It's not flat like we've done in the past. So new charms, brought back from last year and brought back from years past. So that's really a great charm pack. Hopefully this lasts more than a season. Never know. Then we have word plaques. So this is what I was talking about. This one's new though. We took out the snowflake. I thought the snowflake was good, but I really loved that dimensional star and wanted to do that. So we have this dimensional star in the seal. I was right. Season of Magic is what came out of the pack. The other 3 are gone. But then we have this new longer one. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And then we have those tiny tags for Christmas. So the 25, the joyful, and the wishes. These all have raised words that you can go in with crayon or paint and create a cool color effect by rubbing color in and wiping it away. So these are the word plaques for Christmas. Word plaques and tags. Then bells. Now you're going to see a lot of bells on makes. We've had tiny bells in idea-ology for many, many years, and they were discontinued by choice, actually, because I wanted to redo bells. I've always loved this little jingle bell, this vintage jingle bell. It looks like a little saucer. And I just said, I really want to put jingle bells, vintage ones, in the line, as well as a little Liberty Bell. So we did this new finish. It's an antique silver, so they're not as dark as the previous ones. We did include some small ones, so there's a few tiny ones in there, but we also wanted to do bigger scales. I just found that how makers were using bells, especially when you put it on a vignette box or a journal, the tiny bells, well, they were just too tiny. How tiny? Too tiny. So there are still some tiny bells for some smaller elements, but a completely different style of bells with the jingle bell and this little kind of Liberty Bell. This is great. So these are called holiday bells. So that's going to be the difference, holiday bells versus tiny bells. Okay. Then this one. Now, this is one of my favorites. I'm not going to lie. I am playing favorites on this release. I love this. This came from a personal find that I found. They were vintage, and if you saw the holiday open house that I think we did it maybe last year, we did the tour, but I found these. They were plastic. They were like red and green. We had them in the dining room. I actually had to send the vintage ones to be manufactured. I got one back, and that's all right. So I'm happy with the one I got back, but it was totally worth it for the cause, is what Paula and I always say. Sometimes you have to sacrifice real vintage to get it done. Worth the cause. Here's what's so great about festive marquee. I'm going to open them. They are thick. I want you just to be aware of that. Is a thick metal, because I wanted it like a marquee. I wanted this thick base that you could stick onto a box or frame. I wanted the words, the letters, to actually stand out from there, so it looked like they were sitting on this ledge. And the reason we had to send this is because these were not fonts. These were, someone's like hand lettering, and we could not find anything to replicate that, and it is worth it. So you're going to see in the makes, but you see how even the letters, they come up at an angle, so they're not even flat. I mean, there's so many details that probably many of you wouldn't care about, but that's what gives it this like really 3D look, is that I also wanted the letters to have that angle, that contour, like a vintage marquee. This reminds me of something you'd see in a department store, like if they had it in a jewelry case, shop here, holiday great gifts.
You went back and forth on those for so long.
Oh my gosh.
The way you wanted them.
But they're perfect, and it was worth it. Yeah, Mario's right. It was like every little detail. I'm like, nope, that needs to be like 1/16 of an inch higher. Nope, this needs to be angled. They're magic. They are pure magic. Cool. But they're cool. And so, I mean, they don't really like stand on their own because of the angle that's here. See how I wanted that angled? But you could stick it down. I would imagine if you had some tape, you could probably set it down onto something if you wanted to stand it up that way. But man, they're fabulous. So you'll see how the makers used them. I love them. And I know the makers were just like, man, these are so good. Like, yes, they are. Okay, here is another new that became a favorite. These are pine cones. Now, these are resin. We used to do metal pine cones, but I wanted something that was very realistic, and I love these. These are small. They're hand painted, and then they have a little dark brown finish put on them. You'll see how the makers have winterized these to make little snowy pine cones, and because they're resin, they're much lighter weight. They're also more durable. If you try to do pine cones first, you can try little sugar cones, but they crush when you try to put them on a make, or they don't really survive, and they are perfect. So you'll see the detail work of these are great. So all the little pine cones you're going to see in the makes today, whether they look snowy, whether they're white, whether they're brown, they're all these. Yeah, this is one where it's like, because of the detail work, you need like a bulk bag of 50. I think Paul's like, can I get a bulk of like 100 pine cones? Then we've got confections. So here I'll bring in the other confections just so you can again see the color comparison. So I wanted to go very traditional, very much like the palette of backdrops this year, how we went in with that deep red and that really nice deep green. When you see candy canes, and they're all different colors. So I love the fact that if we were going to combine it, that I wanted to do something different. Hopefully, if you really like, they're beautiful together. So you still have the opportunity to stock up on these if you can find retailers that have remaining stock of that. But here is the whole mix. So in here we've got the candy canes in that dark red, just a few of those. Then we've got some of the candy sticks in that dark red and the mints, and then we also have them in green. So it does make a really festive confection, but they're beautiful to work together. They are made out of a a flexible clay material. So they are flexible, they're not fragile, they're not going to snap. You can cut them. We've had card makers, I remember Barbara Yaya actually went in and sliced these, so you can take a razor and cut them thinner and glue them on a card. You can use glossy accents or collage medium and rock candy to make them sugary. They're just perfect. So that is the new confections and the retired confections. And then we'll finish up with the salvaged, and then we'll get into the makes. So salvaged, salvage is really these resin figures. They're just done out of a plastic resin, so different than like a ceramic resin, I guess, if you will. But we've had a lot of different things throughout the years in ideology, and I wanted to introduce something new, so we just decided to, all of the other SKUs retired. So the tiny deer that we did last year retired, the salvage Santa and snowman retired, and here's what we've done different. Let's start with the deer. So the salvage reindeer, we still have the sizes that we had last year, but last year it was like its own pack. And what we did is we included those and these really big ones, big scale. Why? We had a lot of makers asking for bigger things to put in glass domes, to put in vignette boxes, to put into table centerpieces, home decor, and that's really what we did. So we still have that small size, but now we've got this big size. You'll see how the makers did it. You can paint them, you can add glitter to them, and so really a shout out to Tracy for letting me do this, because it was a huge expense. Let's just say that. Metal tooling, injection molding, it was a huge expense for Advantis, and I'm very grateful because I wanted to do it on 3 SKUs, which means all the previous molds couldn't be reused. So I absolutely love these, and you'll see the difference in scale. So that was last year, this year, they're big. Then we have the salvage figures. Used to be just snowmen, used to be just Santas, then it was the Santa and the snowman, and now we've got a new character, a little toy soldier. He's not really a nutcracker, although he could be in your imagination, that's fine, but he's really a great little toy soldier. They all have that kind of salvage carved look, but these are really great. So these are the same size as previous years, and that's that little toy soldier that goes with it, or nutcracker. He's very cool. I love his jacket and boots and all that. So these surfaces are really great for altering. That is what I absolutely love about that. And then of course we wanted to do them big. So when you see the difference between salvage Santa, if you've ever used the Santa before, compared to this one, I mean, we're talking like the entire scale is big. And we had to sample a lot of 3D prints, because when you think, oh, I just want to go like let's just do a 1/2 inch taller, you don't realize 1/2 inch taller becomes ginormous. Like when we started out, they were so big they wouldn't even fit in a vignette box. But now we got the perfect size that works in vignettes and the new display globe. But they are absolutely wonderful. So those are salvage figures, small and large. That's what we have. That's how they were. So good. Okay. That's it for product. It's time to get into inspiration. I think that's great. I'm going to hand that stuff to you, Mario. If you want to take that, by the way, thank you so much.
Sure.
And then we're going to talk about that, and I'll still talk about the display globe because that is part of the launch. But I want to bring that in when the glass samples come in. So there we go. Okay. So a shout out to all the makers. Again, I say this in every live. They are the ones that make the product come to life, and they will be sharing on social media throughout the weekend. There is a makers page on timholtz.com, so you can find the makers, follow the makers. I know throughout the live, Mario posts the links to the makers, and also in the description box of this video, there is a link to the makers page. So I encourage you to follow them because many of them share their tips and tricks for their makes throughout the season. This first make, this is Paula's make. Paula created this. So this is a vignette card file, and this is where you can see all of the paper elements of ideology come to life, and why we do what we do, and how everything conveniently coordinates, okay? So the great thing about this vignette file is that it does come with this vintage hardware pull. You can remove it. It's got little screws, so you can take it out and alter it and paint it. You can cover it. This is the backdrop, so we've got vintage cigar box. You can use the tape. But it has these 3 compartments that allow you to create card files. Now, we do sell the ideology file cards, so we sell pre-cut cards in different configurations. This paper is the same paper as distress heavy stock, so if you like the distress tags or the mixed media heavy stock, that's what this paper is. So we share the same source with Ranger on that. But it's very nice because it allows you to alter it in many, many ways. You can alter it with inks, with collage medium. It's just a great durable surface. It doesn't mean you can't cut your own, okay? But having little pre-made pocket cards that are already glued together that allow you, so these come in the file cards, you can alter them in so many different ways. So Paula, when she creates, she just does so many little details. So I'll just quickly go through all of these. I won't show all the details, but this is where we incorporate layers. There is that sticker from the sticker book, the label sticker, and then you've got paper. There's the bell. Of course, you can take photos in there. You can take any of your little elements. So see, there's a little mirrored star, retired, perfect, little tiny clip. I love that little touch of sparkly glitter on there. This has a little divide of a backdrop file card because that's also in there, the little tabbed cards. You can see little stickers and layers and so many pullouts. Paula does an amazing job of tinting photos. I love how she tints with crayon. I'm really pushing her to try to do videos. I'm like, I've seen so many blog posts you've done, but I want to watch the process. But take a look at the back. You see how these paper dolls are standing in front of one of those frames. So you've got the layer frames, there's the little threads. Stitching is already done for you. So a great little detail there. I love just adding little clips. This is from the assemblage jewelry line, the little rondelle balls. There's some layers with the bell. Again, stickers, layers. I love how Paula can just mix and match all the backdrops. Like a little snippet of this paper, a little bit of that paper, some clipping stickers. Ooh, look, a little stamping. Ah, she's got it all. That's really nice. A little pull-out tag, a little mica stain. Can you see that? That's really clever. Oh, and see, there you go. So instead of a shakety shake, I just realized what that was. That's a window frame. So it's a piece of acetate stamped and put in that layer frame because there's the threads. That's clever. So if you don't want to do shakety shake, it's a perfect pocket. Some of the layer pieces, like he's just so charming. You just use him. You don't have to stick him down to anything. He's big enough that he can just be an inclusion in what you're creating. But all of the ideas and details of how things can go together, utilizing photos. See, I knew it. There it is. I was like, if Paula makes something without that flare, even though it didn't come back, she loves it. I don't blame her. It's very cute. So see how that flare just works perfect. It's such a charming accent, but you can still get them. Just get them while you can. I also love how she stacked up these layers just to create that dimensional floral element. That's really charming, P. I love that. Again, the frames. I love the frames with the paper dolls and the backdrops and the clippings. All that stuff just, see, because Paula helps. I love the flare. I know, she does. But see, you can stock up. So I try to tell people that so they can. So when we get those emails around Christmas going, I've looked everywhere. I'm like, I tried.
Yes, I know. Right there. She just put the link.
Yeah. I checked before I even showed them in live. I checked last night to make sure that they had everything I shared, at least for live. So I love how Paula just really, when we're talking about design and scale, sometimes she's very passionate about size and scale. And when I see it all come together, I'm like, I get it now. I get it. I get why you wanted that. She does. She down to, like she says tomorrow, like this is the order the cards go in because it tells a story, and Paula will tell her own story. So for the makers, that's the beauty of that the makers can really take a deeper dive into all of the different techniques and meanings behind their makes on social. I love this. I love really the piecing and patchwork of backdrops. Oh, see, there's another one of those layer pieces. We love the Santas. They often come from just vintage paper cuts. Do love it. And I love that bit of rock candy on the layers. I'm loving that because it's like sugary. And then here you can see the sticker. See, it looks like washi tape, but it's thicker and it's more opaque, so it just stands out more. I love those strips. And then there's another one of those little pockets and pull out. Charming. So many great elements in a card file. So this is a fun make that you can start making for the season and just add to it as you go. This is also a great way. I know many people make mini cards, and we shared that even in the Sizzix Live, where maybe you don't want to commit to an A2 or slimline. You just want little cards that you can attach to gifts, or you put a gift card in. So maybe create this as your measurement for your holiday cards. And just as you start making your holiday cards, fill this up. And then when you need a quick holiday card, pull it out and use it. So it can also be something decorative and functional in your creative space, but a great card keeper as well. Great make. Beautiful. And so what you're going to see for this one, I'll just tell you now, I sorted everything by make type this time for ideology. Ideology is always this a little chaos in my brain of like, how do I run everything together? So what I did for this one is it's going to be all paper, then I'll talk about glass, and then I'll talk about vignettes. I just thought that was a cool way to kind of shake it up. So this stack of cards are all from Cheiron. These are Cheiron's makes. I did put them in a little vintage lunch tin because, hello, presentation is everything. Like, how great is that? I do love vintage lunch tins. But that's another great card keeper. If you have something vintage, just make your cards and put it there because, again, it could be something decorative in your creative space, but then also functional when you're like, oh, I need a card, I need a card, I need a card. So Cheiron, I would say, is our resident ideology card maker. That's really what she does. She is amazing with so many different styles of cards, and I love that she continues to do this for us because it is a bit limiting from a making perspective. It's like, nope, stick to cards, stick to cards. But to me, it really connects a lot of dots because some people think ideology is just about dimensional things, vignettes, all the little trinkety bits and the doodads. That's not necessarily it. It is a wonderful line for card makers, but it's different because you're not necessarily needing stamps or ink blending or stencils. You can certainly add that, but we try to create components that also work for cards. So I'm going to break these down because she does also kind of create, I'll just say styles, okay, or themes. There you go. That's a better term. So this little trio of cards, this theme would just be starting with a card base, taking a backdrop, and then adding layers and ephemera. Now on the top of this, I don't know if you can see the texture, if the light's going to pick this up. This is using distressed frosted crystal embossing powder. If you take frosted crystal, it creates this really beautiful matte texture that you can put on ephemera and layers. If you're going to use it on layers, you want to be really careful and not put a lot of ink down because it'll create a bond that will actually make it scratch off. But on ephemera, you can take any embossing ink, frosted crystal, emboss it until it's frosty, and that's it. But she did the same idea for all of them. And what frosted crystal also does is see how your layer is shiny, but then this becomes frosted, and then this is matte. So just using 3 paper layers, you're also playing around with texture. And I think that's the power of a maker. Sometimes when you just stick to paper and you just do paper, 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 it's nice, but it's also could be a little flat. So changing up the type of papers, and that's why we do some stuff coated, some stuff uncoated, it really gives you a little bit more depth in there. And then you can see the little strip from the sticker book. So a great idea of just taking backdrops, layers, ephemera, and then a little frosted crystal and create these wonderful cards. Then I loved these. I remember this as a kid. I do. I remember getting a card like this from my grandparents every Christmas. And you know, you open it up and you get that $5 bill. It was awesome. So the money card. I love the idea how Cheiron used that vintage element in ephemera and created the money card. But if you look at the card itself, we'll see if the light catches it. She used the new Distress Sparkle, painted it on. So this has that wonderful little, let's see if I can get the light to cooperate. It's very hard to see. It's got that little flecks of glitter. There we go. Throughout the whole card. And it gives it a beautiful sheen. So this is just painted on. We talked about that with that sparkle. But I love these cards that Cheiron did using those pieces and just kind of creating that money card where you could put in a gift card or you can do that. But yeah, $5. I'm telling you, like that was it. I recognized it. I was so excited to get it, and I thought I could buy the world with that $5. But here, pairing that with a little backdrop, there's a little ideology velvet trims. This ribbon, which I can tell you heads up, will be retiring next year, the velvet trims. So yeah, a little spoiler alert. But yeah, it's beautiful when you pair because the velvet trims are so flat and it has that finished edge, but great holiday cards. So see, just using, again, elements all from the same packs, but in different ways. I love these cards because these are very collagey. So often we get asked, what do you do with tags? Well, tags are cards. They could be tags, they could be gift tags, but you can easily create a tag and then stick a tag right on a card base and it is a card, okay? But a tag, something about it, it doesn't make people panic as much about what it is. You know, sometimes I think when it comes to cards, they they think about composition, they overthink things, but when it comes to a tag, it's like, oh, it's just a tag. I can have things off the edge. I can do whatever I want. And that's really where these two worlds come together. Take a tag, do a little collaging on the background. I love the stitching that Cheiron did all the way around with that red thread. And then we've got some ephemera on here. You can use collage medium. There's some stickers. You can dimensionalize stuff with a little bit of foam adhesive. Paper dolls. The paper dolls are perfect. Chris does an amazing job with the color of these, so you don't have to tint them if you don't want to. They stand out beautifully. And then just adding some other elements. Again, just some stuff is glued, some stuff is foam, and I love that splatter paint of white just to give it a snowy look. Little special delivery. There's the flash card. So again, repetition. I'm going to create collage tags. Compartmental making. So especially when you're making for the Christmas season, you can spend a week just doing collage tags. Then you can spend the next few days gathering your components and just setting them on the tag. You don't even have to commit at this time. Some people have, commitment issues right out of the gate. Lay it down and then you can just sit down and do the build. And now you're not thinking because everything's there. You're just going to decide what gets glued, what gets dimensionalized. But they're so charming. And I think that splatter of white is really good. Whether you're using paint, I would suggest gesso. I like to splatter with gesso. It's a bit more opaque and chalky, but whatever works. I know people use gouache and all sorts of different things. I love just all of the details, and I'm very happy with these stickers. When you see them, right, the red and the green, it was a good trade-off. But fun collage card series. And then we have another little collage series, but this time it's using those frames as that foundational piece. So I love how she took the cards, did her sewing on the outer edge, and then this frame, remember I talked about those layer frames, that became the foundation. That was the anchor point. That's where everything can go in, on, or out of that frame. So you can put any of the vintage photos. So this photo is in the Paper Dolls in Layers. I actually have that real photo. I was so excited to buy it. I remember telling Paula, I'm like, I found the best Christmas photo of all time. Yeah. I just love that because that's me after one too many, but I love it. Like full of good cheer, right? I'm a cheery, yeah. But yeah, making spirits bright. I love the pointy finger on there. There you can see the adornment painted because they take distress paint beautifully. I love that poinsettia. Then you can see the next card. Again, the frame in, on, out. You can just totally expand from there because that frame is giving you that foundation point and all the work is done for you on the collage. There's that star. See how great that is? You can paint it and then buff off some of that paint to get the metallic to show up. Beautiful. And the sticker. And then this one, again, the splatter. So this splatter is metallic. Look at that. So this is either, I don't know, metallic paint. I don't think it's foundry wax. If it is, it's very thin. It might be foundry wax because it's very shiny. Anyway, I love the wreath that's on here. Love how she went in and painted it. Because the wreath, the adornments are so dimensional, they're actually pretty easy to paint. Even if you don't have a steady hand, they're nice because you can paint it and rub off any of the excess. But there you go, another one of those snapshots from the Layers and Paper Dolls. Love that little December detail, the bell layer, and then some ephemera. But another great idea for elements, right? You just take out your packages of stuff and make. That's what it's about. And then if you think, well, hold on, I can't use the baseboard things. Oh, Cheiron says, yes, you can. So take a look at these cards with the windows. So a nice big card. So yeah, it's a bit more dimensional, but still a fun card because this is something that you can send to someone. They can display it on a clipboard. They can set it up on the mantle because it is its own work of art, because now that you have that baseboard on there, it adds a little bit more depth. So here you can see, let me tip it to the light. There you go. You can see that transparency in the back. I love that little bit of snow in there, little snowfall. I love the addition of little glitter on the crowns and the little wands. See? An armful, oh my gosh, an armful of candy boxes. That's solely me. And then just the little bits of confections. Cute, right? And look at this window. That's what I was talking about, coloring the back of that transparency to make a beautiful stained glass window. So take that same transparency, color it with Sharpie, alcohol markers, anything that's going to work on plastic. And then if you want it to really be vibrant, make sure that you put a piece of white paper behind it. That will act as a light source. But look at that stained glass storefront.
So beautiful.
Isn't that magical? And I love the Santa. And what's really cool about this is because, of course, from a storefront where you have the doors and the windows, I love how she just put that big Santa there. And now it's just more of like a department store window, not necessarily a door, because of how she really conveniently hid the door. So it's just another large window. But see, that's also what I was talking about, the little hardware heads on the edge of those baseboards, that little landing spot. Charming. So I mean, really, when you see all of the card ideas, and when people say, oh, ideology, I wish you would design stuff for card makers. Well, there you have it. It's just about thinking as a card maker and how a card maker would approach using elements like this. I think that's just good.
Look at that.
It's
beautiful.
It's just so many ideas when you open up your backdrops and layers. And so thanks, Cheiron, because when you see them all go together, and gosh, and she makes so many of them, because to me that's really impactful. When you can see repetition of an idea, that's where you can understand that you don't need 20 of the same thing in a bag. You can still make very similar cards, but you don't need them all to be matchy-matchy, same. And I think we thought that through for so often for the holiday seasons, that everything had to be the same. Thanks, Mario. All right.
You're welcome.
So now we're going to get into some other paper elements. This time we're going to talk about mini books, because from a card file to cards, you can also use these for junk journals and mini books. And Marina created a beautiful mini book. Now you can start with a foundational book, you can start with a pre-made book, or you can start with some type of kit, whatever is going to work for you. But I love that she's got some ribbon on there. You can see she added a little bit of lace to the spine using some backdrops there. There's one of the baseboard frames. I love the paper dolls. I love she's sitting over here, and look at that little detail, just cutting a little bit of that transparency and putting it in that slide frame. Here, if you want to use fasteners and use your hammer, your texture hammer, you can create the dented hardware elements. That's very cool. And there's, ooh, look, a little flare. I love seeing the makers use flare. These are retired. These were numerals. I love seeing that. I do. I'm always a fan of seeing retired stuff in new makes, because that is the evolution of ideology. It just keeps going and going. But here, there's, okay. So it's like a book with little booklets. So I thought that was all one. There we go. So she created these little signatures, it looks like, these little insets, kind of tied them on. I love that large backdrop of that ledger. Isn't that beautiful? We love the typography and the graphics of the tree on there. So here you can see the little frame. I love how Marina just takes elements and just, man, it's like strategic creativity, but it's so, I know it's thought, but she just makes it look so effortless because of all of the details. All right, just gonna untie this. So here you can see, let's see, does this, nope, that doesn't pull out. There's a sticker on here, bunch of layers, but then this that I just untied, so that was like a signature, untied, and then it opens, and then this flips out. Look at that. Oh my gosh, she's fabulous. Look at that with the wreath. Oh my gosh, that is perfect. See, we did love these, we really love these portraits, and like I said, these are in Halloween and Christmas because it was just something about tying them together. We love the top hat. So look at his little bow tie. How wonderful. So festive. I love her little bow. There is that little adornment. So charming in the frame. Little season's greeting. I love that wreath as a crown. I've never seen that wreath as a crown, and I think it's absolutely fabulous. So here we've got, I love these little detail layers. Look at that. Little tab here, paper dolls, elements, and you can mix and match. I love seeing, I recognize there's die cuts, there's punches, there's so many wonderful little elements. And then of course we have backdrops, layers. There's some little bit of linen tape, little plaid there. And then we have a whole nother element. Oh look, I love, see, look at the painting of that. So Cheiron did hers red, and I love how Marina did that green. Really, really beautiful. I love the portraits, I love the layers. Oh my gosh, so good. Let's open this one and see what we get. Oh, so first, here, I just noticed this. Let me take this off. So take a look at this. I love that frame. I just realized that that is one of the layers that are in the pack. I love how she used that as a book frame, and then she's got that scene in there. Then we've got a whole nother little, see, another little flip out. Okay, let's take a look here. Beautiful little side frame. That's from chapter 3. Little turn, little photo turn in there. Some paper dolls. Does this open? See, I never, no, I'm not doing anything. Maybe?
Easy,
Okay,
easy.
there we go. So here's a little pocket. Yeah, very cute. I love seeing all of these pieces. And so when you want to know how much is too much, when it comes to ephemera, I really think you're only as good as your next layer, because you can do backdrops, ephemera, layers, elements, buttons, stickers, make those little tabs. And then this opens up. Oh, see, look at that. So fun. Just seeing the photos in there, paper dolls. And see, I love a lot of these poses where they can just sit on things. Really, really cute. This one, oh, does this come out? Yes. See, another tag. Probably something came out over here too. Yes, it did. Oh my gosh. See, I think the mind of a bookmaker, junk journaler, it is about all these little hiding places for, oh, maybe it doesn't. See, I'm not doing it. I'm always fearful that I'm just going to destroy someone's make live, and I just don't want to do it. Yeah. Because I know that they're going to share I'm very confident that whatever I overlook during a live, the maker will more than share the details during it. So I think that's really good. I do love that. Let's see. Does this one go? No, it looks like it does, because see, there's a little arrow. Oh,
there you
ha!
go.
Look at that. See, it's magnetic. I just heard it. You hear that? Look at that. That is charming. So it's not even a little pull out. It's like a little arrow that like lifts up. See, there's a little flat magnet in here buried somewhere. I love how she's carrying that little package. Click. See? Because I was wondering, I'm like, she's back there, but I can't imagine she just, there, look at that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is fun. This is the kind of make that I could just completely lose myself, because you want to tuck and interact and add things. But I really love the idea of tying together little signatures in a book. So you're opening a book, especially at Christmas, because it's like you're unwrapping all those little gifts. Just what a beautiful, beautiful book, Marina. Really great. So many great details in books. So Paula created this. So this started out as an accordion folio, but then I just love how everything is morphed together. So you can see that when you have a foundation, so this is an idea-ology, it's called an accordion folio, but you can go in and you can mimic that. You can make your own. You can adapt it to be bigger or larger. Paula did cut off one of the tabs because, as you can see, the book got really big as you embellish. But what's great about this kit is that because it's mixed media, you can go in and collage over it, ink it, crayon, whatever. But it's also gusseted, so you can see that you can still add some big elements to it. But I love all the little details of this. Well, let's open it up. So this one has a tab that pulls down, and then it has this accordion book that comes out. But Paula created a new little journal in there. And that's the other thing. Just because it comes with something doesn't mean you can't say, oh, you know what, I'm going to save that component for something else because I want to build this to go in there. But take a look at, that's another one of the backdrops. Isn't that photo just magic? That's Paula's photo. I love that. That Christmas band photo. So good. Then we've got this. Oh, there's a little door. Oh, look, she's hiding behind the door, getting ready to greet the guests with that little wreath, the little deer. The frosty air of night, one of her fondest memories. A pretty Christmas dress, the ivy and holly everywhere. It is Christmas after all. See, clippings. These are the clipping stickers where you can just make the most charming little poem just by taking those words and breaking them down. So let's take a look at this book. Again, I love the colors of paper dolls. Paula just makes it look so vintage. Little bits of little glitter. And here you can see that, I don't know, again, if the light is going to hit it, but it has that, just there it is. It has that distress sparkle paste. So all of the paper elements on this just sparkle and shine. So as we open this up, oh, let me just make sure something's stuck, I think. Yep, okay, I got it. Oh, speaking of, this is a good time to say it. If you ever do a journal and you have a book, Mario, I knew I was going to ask you something. In my desk, on the bottom wood drawer, on the far left, closest to me, is a little jar of distressed microglaze. Can you grab it, please? Sure. Thanks. You'll have to just kind of slide some of that. But I'll talk about that in just a second. But I love how Paula, again, just uses elements and papers as a little pocket for the guy. So here's a whole little tag that pulls out using layers. I love the portraits, the stickers. You can use a tiny attacher, use any string elements or a little splatter. Thanks. So this stuff, this is Distress Microglaze. It is really meant for sealing Distress inks or spray stains where you can rub it on and it will actually make Distress waterproof and permanent. It's kind of this creamy stuff if you've never felt it before. It goes on, it's not really a wax, it evaporates, so you want to keep it closed. But this is perfect if you ever do a journal and you find your pages sticking together, be that collage medium, or maybe you use sparkle paste that has a little bit of a tack even after it dries, or texture paste. You can just rub a little bit on with your finger, buff it off with a dry paper towel, and then your journal pages won't stick together. So if you ever find that whatever mediums you're using are making your book stick together, a little bit of that, we're talking a touch with your finger, rub it on, buff it off, it leaves no shine or residue behind, but it's Distress Microglaze. So it has a purpose more to make it waterproof, but it's also wonderful because it was designed by a paper crafter specifically for papers. So it's very cool. All right, there you go. It is a good tip because sometimes that does happen, especially can't imagine if you were in like a humid area. It's like, my gosh, you'd be like a fruit roll-up every time you turn the page. So here you can see, again, we've got that little stitching detail around the layers. I love the paper doll. See, that's what I was talking about, cutting that little ribbon flag at the end of the sticker, but just look at the details. So here, Paula used that layers piece just as a flip, just using another strip of paper as a hinge. You can use washi tape. Oh, I saw this sneak peek. Paula had a great story about this on her Instagram about just this guy and his fancy duds. I love the polka dots that she added on his jacket. It's so good. Look at him. He is dressed in style. I love the stripes too. Can you see like those burgundy stripes in there? Very, very cool. But I love the layers. Does this? Oh yeah. See, another pocket. Just another great card that slides right under there. There's so many cool inclusions, and I encourage you to follow the makers because there's many details that I can't get to during live that I'm sure they will share. So that's beautiful. I like that she's sitting in there with that little brick. It's fancy. Oh, look at that. See, we have this chocolate box. It's actually really big. I scanned that in. Well, Mario scanned it in, but it's beautiful. Look at that sparkle. Oh my gosh. Every time I see it, the camera never does it justice. If you have this and you've tried it, you know just what I mean. I love creating the just little inclusions and pockets. Oh, this is fab. Look at that. Jingle all the way, and she's sitting on that bell. See, that's so good. That's why we have big pieces and small, but how great. I saw Marina had one of her paper dolls on the little corner of the bell, but now you see and I love the pairing of that sticker. So good. Then we've got another little pocket. See, just little elements. So there's another one of those. There's that Santa again. We just loved him. A little tag. I love the tag where you can add stickers to it. Then we've got some clippings. And then, of course, right here, paper dolls. So good. Oh, my gosh. So much work and time and pieces all go into that. And then that book fits into that. And then that folds up. And then that folds and that folds. Or this folds and that folds. It could be however you want. And then the clip. Could clip it all together, or you could do a band. There was elastic on here, but I didn't want to fuss with it. Little charm, just beautiful. I love the work of books. Magic, right, Mario?
Super magic.
Super magic. Uh-oh, I got tangled on this one. Never fails. Here we go. Okay, this next little book, Marlies created this, and so this is where you can take a journal, and you'll see these next two, where you can take a book and you can still add dimensional elements to it, because depending on how you're going to display your book or journal, it could be its own work of art. And I really love how Marlies always just leaves those little threads and strings, and yeah, it's fun. So here you can see on the front of the book, there's a little, I don't know if this opens. Oh yeah, there's a little matchbox that opens. It's got, it looks like it's got little tags inside. So little matchbox for the cover. That's really clever. Oh, there we are. So look, tiny little tags, there's little bells in there. Look at all those little, wonderful little trinkety bits. And this could be something that if you're working on a book, you can add little elements that you can add into your pages. But here you can see there's that poinsettia now painted gold. So far we've seen it red, green, and gold. How does that happen? I don't know. Do they all talk to each other? What color are you using?
Secret meetings.
I don't know, but it's so cool how it's just serendipitous how it works. There's one of the little alpines, so we've got that little skinnier tree. So see, if you ever want to glue it onto something, just take your scissors and just trim off the back, because it's very easy to cut that material of the tree, and then you have a flat back, but you still have all the dimension of the tree. There's little confections. See, there's the pine cones, A little bit of white. You can use texture paste or snow, little moss. I just love it. It's like a little fireplace that she created for the front of her book. And then let's, I'm a little tangled. Let's just open this up. Okay, we got that piece. There we go. All right. So inside, love all the elements. Again, how makers just use different components. Here you can see a lot of those remnant rubs. So these are all remnant rubs. Again, those did not come back, but if you have them, or even if you have leftover ones, a great way to use them, especially to add that bold punch. You can also use stamps, but rubs are very opaque. I love seeing the transparency just used as an element. So here, I was going to say this page, oh, there we go. So there's a little paper tab at the top. There we go. Look at that. Little flip out right here. Then we have another little tag, a little book. Oh, sorry, a little card. You could do a little stenciling in there. That's very cute. A little inclusion. Do a little holiday photos. I also like for journals or journalers that way you can take a lot of elements and utilize these pieces to actually fill with your own holiday memories if you make a book for yourself. Then we open this up. Again, there's another little fold out. I love all the stitching, the little ziggity zaggity right here on the details. Starting out really, I love the tags, the layers, and see, it's this staggering kind of edge. I always find that that's so freeing as a bookmaker or journal. You're not really confined to the rectangle that I think so often is card makers. But and I always say this too, even if you're not a bookmaker or you're not a vignette maker or you're not a card maker, it is so important when you watch lives as any type of maker to watch it with an open mind. And do not shut down an idea simply because it's not a make you would do. And this is a perfect example. If you're a card maker, just imagine this as a card where you have your normal A2 card, but you're going to do the front a little different. Because who says that the front has to match the back? It's still going to fit in your envelope. It's still going to do all that. But I love that idea of creating a staggered edge. Maybe it's a tag, maybe it's ephemera, but that becomes a card front and it doesn't have to be on a flat rectangle. Then whatever's in your card could still be a reveal of what was there. So just something to consider. I'm always just thinking of just the ingenuity of a maker and the elements that they do. So here you can see another little, so this time it's a little book. So see, she made some little vintage paper stitched in there. A little charm. There's some tape that creates these little hinges. So linen tape, you could do washi tape, you can stitch it on. There's another one of those frames to create a pocket that has a pullout. Great little tab, could be a bookmark. I just love all the details of that, the interactive nature of it. And this is where you can get the inspiration of sticking it all together. Because sometimes you're like, I don't understand the build of all that. That to me is really important to say like, okay, I get it. I can start with a backdrop. That's the whole backdrop. That's why we call them that, because it should just be your background. You shouldn't be afraid to cover up most of your backdrop. But then you could add a layer. That's a layer. That's why we named it that. It should be a layer in your collage, your ephemera, your stickers. All of those components really bring things together. And I love that edge. I can't even get over it. It's so cool because it intrigues me. It really does. So everything intrigues somebody a little different, right? You never know what's going to capture your eye or your attention. And I think the use of colors, I love this tape. It was so fun to have linen tape for Christmas, but I didn't see that available. It might still be. Oh, look at that. There you go. I just noticed that. Look at that beautiful long plaque on the spine of the book. So that's really clever as well. It's a beautiful little detail. See? Keep going, keep going. And again, makers will share all the details, I'm sure. Because this one, there's no way I can get through all of this particular make, but it's a good thing that Luise does a lot on YouTube. So Luise created this book. So this starts out of what appears to be a vintage book because it's got that curved spine. But I really love how she went in with the baseboards and kind of gave it that grungy curve. But look at the details of this one. It's got a window front that's all hammered down, another window on top of that, the layers. You can see the tree. See? You definitely want to have a grungy holiday. I say merry and neutral, right? I do love that. And I also like, like the tree goes this way, and I also like how the tree goes this way. I think that's just cool just to have it on the back. So you could start with a foundational journal. Okay, there's an old keyhole here. Hold on. I'll get it. Oh, it's magnetic. There we go. I'm like, one thing attached. No, there's a magnet. There we go. So oh, cool. So cool little closure with the magnet on a magnet there. Then we've got Merry Christmas. So there you can see our festive marquee. Look at that. See, it's very bold.
Meeting about magnets.
It's just, I love it. I love it, but that, you know, if I don't, and I know she sent notes, but I didn't read the notes because sometimes I just like to be surprised. And there you go. I'll figure it out. So let's open this thing up. So again, I love the windows. Oh, there we have it. Have yourself a grungy little Christmas. You know it. I love all the, I mean, this is just packed. Oh, cool. So inside the book, there's also a little scene. Here, can you see that? Look at the trees. Soldier. I love that little toy soldier. Look how he's just done in metallics. And look at that little festive cluster. Little bells and tags and chain and little jingly jangly. That's so good. Little trees there. See, the alpines are really nice, but you can also use a mini woodland. So then we just kind of get into the book. All right, so this opens, and then book pages, inky pages. Then this opens. So here we can see some layers, little die cutting. I mean, Luise just does, you can utilize your elements. And we talked about this even during Halloween with her makes, about cutting out things, cutting out backdrops and different elements, using really what you have. There's some flowers in there, some little fabric, some embossed paper. Just there's layers upon layers upon layers. And when you think you're done, there's another layer that's just to reveal. So here you can see the little frame. There's some transparency. Look at that little stamping and embossing. So this is one where you can just lose yourself, and you can work on this throughout the season. If this is for you, you can just start, and then when you feel like working on something, it's like an ideology art journal, just in a different way. So here we've got a little flap. So there's a little tie around. I call it a little this and that because you go around it. I'm not going to this and that this. I'm just going to cheat. Going to go out the side. There we go. Because there's a little tag in here. See, and even the paper dolls, like they can have legs and feet. You can still leave them, or you can cut them off and hide them behind things. But look at that little sparkle. I love the grit and grime and grunge, and the little sewing on there. I love also the detail of the fabric. But yes, you can do your inclusions however you want to build. Here's a little ideology stencil card, and you can take any everyday element, add a little bit of rock candy, and there you go. 'Tis the season. Some little photos in there. Not such a fun photo. Yep. And then the layers, you can use crackle. So here's a little translucent crackle. You can do paste or paint on there. Some stenciling. I also like just the little stickers on here. Let's see. Christmas Eve, when Santa Claus came for the good girls and boys. There you go. Little element in there. And then another book. There's a little backdrop. Oop, and then another one. A little surprise in there. Layers and a little pull out. So, I mean, all that stuff like in one side. Like I think just half of this would be like a book for me. Then the other side, same. So here we can see, again, die cuts, layers. I love a little bit of mummy cloth in there. This opens to reveal him. Isn't he great? Look at that. With the umbrella, little die cut, little layers. Opens this way. Tags. Just so many details that Luise does. Just get in and just lose yourself. I love how these little festive paper dolls, tinted or not, are just charming. It's a Wonderful Life. And again, adding those little book pages. I mean, that's really cool, especially putting those stickers on there. Then we've got the back, grunge, Team Grunge all the way. A little brown, little mixed media. There's some of that. I love the bubble stamp in there, especially with that embossing. Little die cutting. And little embossing, so taking that, you see that? There's got little texture that's dotted. So taking that Christmas frame and embossing it, that's really cool. Opens this way. Wow, another layer. Look at that. More elements, I love these little ring fasteners. These are ideology. So it's a brad that has a little jump ring already attached to it, kind of like a little mini drawer pull, and then you can add a charm. So these are ring fasteners. I love them. I'm pretty sure these are still available. I love them. They're really nice. And then we've got that little layer, little transparency, another book, just getting hard told. Then we have another tree in there, and then some other elements. So cool. And again, I encourage you to follow the makers, because I know that many of them, especially Luise and Marlies, they have YouTube where they go through they do it in series. So they like do several videos on a single make and kind of break it down. So because there's so much, I'm sure there's so much magic in here that I didn't even explore. All right. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Now let's move on to some glass, shall we? That was kind of the paper portion of Ideology Christmas. So we'll talk about glass, and this is one that I want to talk real quick. This is also a release that came out. We launched this at Halloween. Let me just turn the box. We launched it at Halloween, and we did the packaging for Halloween and Christmas because it came out for Halloween. I knew it would be great for Christmas, but they have sold out. So the retailers out in the space, they have all the inventory now. It's gone. In fact, most of the seasonal is already sold out from Advantis, so you want to check your retailers. But it's a great Christmas globe, but certainly perfect for, great Halloween, but perfect for Christmas. So that's why we wanted to kind of do a little double duty on this. The display globe is glass with a cork base, just like all of our other glass SKUs, but this has a much larger opening and dome. So of course it is perfect for the season. So a shout out to Paula, who created all of these wonderful Christmas globes. I'll take each one just to kind of share the details with you. Both of these use the new large salvage figure. So I'm going to kind of block a little bit. Actually, I'll bring it close. So what's nice about this, because it has a cork base, you can stick things into it easily. You can glue it. You can paint the cork. You can do all sorts of different types of texture paste. There's a little velvet trim around it. But mica flakes are really great for a shakety shake globe. Can you mix some with glitter? Yes. Rock candy and mica, they don't have any static charge to them. So if you are going to fill a globe with something dry, you just want to make sure that you've tested it out before you glue it, meaning put some in, close it, give it a shake, and if you see it stick to the inside of the glass, well, don't use it. I know some people say like, oh, you can take a dryer sheet and wipe the inside. That only lasts so long. So you want to find a material that's not going to ever build a static charge. And so distressed mica flakes, because they are synthetic, are really perfect for snow. You can still add snow to the tree, but look how Paula painted that. There's a little rock candy on him, so he sparkles, and then you've got a shakety shake globe. You could add tiny lights to this if you want or not. I love seeing just the alpine tree. You don't have to ink it. You could ink it or you cannot. But see, that skinny tree leaves enough real estate for something else. But look at that paint job on the snowman. So great just to see that sparkly, wonderful, glittery snowman. He's covered in rock candy, and of course that is the mica flakes, but I really love that. Kind of hard to shake a snow globe sideways because all the snow is in the back, but yeah, they're really, really fun. Little shakety shake. And then we have this one. So this, of course, is using the smaller deer. You could use the bigger one. It fits in here as well. So all the figures, big and small, fit this globe. We sized it to make sure that it would fit in here. But I love how Paula did two trees. Use that little, look at that little banner from Ephemera. That little holiday greetings. Isn't that great? Use some little confections, little candy sticks. So that's last year's color, little rock candy to make them sparkle. And then the mica. Now this doesn't have to shakety shake. So if you don't like shakety shake because you don't like any of that, look at that great idea of just taking, I don't know, it looks like a little felt circle cut at the bottom for snow, and then gluing on the mica. So you still have that wonderful winter vibe. There's a little wood slice in there. I love that deer, just distressed to perfection. Those are the Ideology baubles that have alcohol ink, a little bit of glitter on there. But that's really nice if you don't want a shakety shake, but you want it wintry. So
you do love a good shakety shake.
I just think it's really, it's interactive fun. But yeah, beautiful little globes. So these are great makes, but I also love that they're glass. It's really nice to have a glass globe. I know I've seen plastic ones like this at the dollar store, but they have a weird little thing at the top and they're plastic, so they scuff up. So that was the inspiration of doing them in glass. So I'm really happy that Advantis let me do them this year. Will they come back next year? Hard to say. I mean, the tin didn't come back, so who knows? Who knows? So then we'll get into some glass that is part of the everyday launch. And this first one, okay, so we're going to start with the Reliquary Dome. So the Reliquary Dome is this arched, flat glass dome. It is part of the everyday line, so this particular dome is not seasonal, but it is wonderful because unlike the other glass elements, this has a flat front. You are limited, of course, to the width of it, but it's the same height as the other domes. This one, Tami B created, so I'm going to light it up because it's got tiny lights in it, but look at who she created. I mean, how brilliant is that? So Tami B did a whole little Whoville scene, painting the Santa into the Grinch. And then look at how she did the dog. So she took the reindeer. I don't know if you can see the little ears that she cut out. And so she did his little reindeer dog. Look at that painting. How hilarious is that? And I love how she took the alpine trees and kind of did that little Whoville bend. And then she hid her tiny lights. Because it's cork, it's very easy to carve out. So if you want to hide your tiny lights in there, you can just go in and cut that out. But I mean, the colors, I'll shut off the lights just so we can really get close. Look at him.
That Grinch.
Oh my gosh, it's that little reindeer dog. That's hilarious. So the reindeer already has the antlers. Tami added the ears, and then of course she painted the detail and added a little collar. Oh my gosh, hilarious. And Tami's like, I had to do this. She's like, I know it's not vintage, it's not this, but I had this Grinchmas in my brain and I had to get it out. And that is what I say, go Tami, go. Because as makers, if you have something in your brain, just get it out. Don't sit there and try to justify whether it's your style or not. Who cares? It's whatever you feel like doing. You do you. And if in that moment you are channeling your inner color explosion, you do that. I love that. But really, those colorful tiny lights, that is hilarious. But this reliquary dome, that's what I was saying. It's a wonderful arch dome, but because it is flat, it really gives you great visibility in your scene without any of the contour of that. But just super fun.
That tree kills me.
Oh my gosh,
bent over like that.
It's perfect, and it's just because of the whole arch of it. It's like
it's so
fun. It's so Whoville. I absolutely love it. Brilliant, from the brilliant mind. All right, I had to share that. So fun. Then we have another reliquary dome. So Stacy created this dome. So you can see in the reliquary dome, it has a lot of real estate. And this was why I wanted to add this dome to the Everyday Ideology collection. So whatever kind of glass things you're doing, or even if you do a lot of collectibles, a lot of great antique stuff, this one's really nice because it does give you so much real estate to build in as far as height, as far as width, as far as length, but also you have that wonderful front and back panel. So Stacy created this. So we've got, there's is the mica? I think, the mica is glued in there, so not a shakety shake. You can see that it's stitched around the edge, but I love how she kind of nailed in the December 25th, like a little calendar. Santa, I love just that little bit of fabric. And these little packages, just wooden blocks that you cover with your favorite papers, little strings, and make little packages. Isn't that charming? The confection. So here's the thing to know. So you see this candy cane. See how she wanted to put that there, but I know that candy cane's a little longer. Cut it. Very easy to cut with your scissors. Make it whatever size you want it to be. And there's that little Santa. It's so charming. I agree. Susie said vintage magic, and it is. It is vintage magic. And I love the details of painting, rubbing it off a little bit to get a little distress. I remember the first time I ever saw Rochelle years ago paint one of the salvage things. I'm like, how did you do that? And there's many tutorials online for how to paint these, do a little distress crayon, do some sparkle. Magic, right? So again, a great little scene in that reliquary dome. So great job, Stacy.
It's the same stuff that people are working with, and look how different.
That's what I said at the beginning of live. It's like story time. Ideology is story time because it's components that you can tell whatever story your imagination dreams up.
It's really awesome.
And Vicki created this. Vicki, our outdoors lumberjack, love to camp. She's not really a lumberjack, but she does love that. She does do blacksmithing as well. So I love how Vicki took ideology elements and did this whole lumber yard winter scene. Does have tiny lights, but the tiny lights backlight it, which I think is a beautiful touch. You don't have to wrap tiny lights around a tree. I know it's going to be hard to resist, especially around the holidays where you're like, but I have lights and there's a tree and I want to wrap around it. You absolutely can, but you don't always have to. So here you can see she just took those tiny lights, put them in the back so they still twinkle. Goes right through the back of the box. There's your little switch because again, ideology tiny lights, easy to replace the batteries. It's got its own little switch. But I love how Vicki took a vignette box, left it in its natural charred state, went in with some nails, just added some ideology tack nails in that bent thing. I love the detail of it. Here we've got the little hardware pull on the top of it, but it's how she used a reliquary dome inside the box. So it's okay that it's in and halfway out because then she added that band. So remember what I talked about, that baseboard piece, just bending that. So we saw how Luise did that around the spine of her book. I love how Vicki took that just to kind of strap that reliquary dome into it. But there's so many cool details. You see these little lumber pencils? I'm not sure if these are real ones or Vicki made them, but I know she did alter them with some ephemera. Look at that treatment on that deer. It's like, it doesn't even look like the same white plastic deer that I showed at the beginning, because different paints, different finishes, different rubbing away, you really see the carved element of salvage. I know you can't really see it on camera when I show it to you when it's white, but all of those salvage pieces have these carvings, if you will, to create that aesthetic. But look at the trees. Beautiful brown trees with just that little touch of cream on the ends. Look at the pine cones scattered around and that pencil. So let me just tip it in the light so you could really, it's just vintage, yes, vintage yum that just lights up. So I do, and then just having that luggage tag just hanging out on there, that's really cool. Just seeing that, and I don't normally bring in all the stuff for ideology, but it's glass and I can fit it all in frame. But like Mario said, just seeing that they have the same stuff, glass and elements, and how you can totally change. I'm going to turn on that little Huijink-Vlug tree. You can totally change your theme. Well, this one's just reliquary. I think I'll just use those. There we go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Man, that is beautiful.
That's just, it's really brilliant just to see, take a component and do your style. Don't be afraid of that. And if you've never done anything dimensional, a dome is really a great way to start, because you can kind of stick within there, or if you have other ideas, you can expand beyond that. So great job. Great job. I do love that. I love it. I love it.
Now,
so good.
This glass needs to get back home in one piece.
Yes, it does. All right, there you go. Beautiful. Okay. So next we're just going to talk about just other make ideas, because when we start getting into dimensional things, and we're going to get into like vignettes and books and more dimensional things. I think this is really where ideology from like a storyteller kind of comes into play. So Jen created this. I will tip it back to show you, but you can start with a foundational piece. It could be a vignette display panel. It can be a piece of Etcetera. It could be something you already have that becomes a foundation for the elements. It does have some tiny lights. There's a little tiny light pocket back there. So let me just switch those on. But look at this wonderful scene that Jan did. Oh, look, that actually fits in camera frame. Nice. We've got a vignette box back there that's got some paper and that wonderful frame that's all illuminated. Here you can see that she took the baubles, but instead of doing ornaments, made little snowballs. I think those icy little snowballs are great. Little sparkle of mica flakes and glitter. And look at that festive marquee. Ooh, perfect. This right here, although it looks like crackled stuff, is really one of the backdrop papers from the Christmas pack. So you can just die cut this if you have this matching one that goes with the Etcetera trim, or you can just glue it on. There's that little plaid. I love how she also took all of these little baseboard strips and created that border all the way around. What a great idea for a frame. So if you don't want to use them on a card, it does make a great trim. But I love how she also took, oh look, there's pine cones. Look at there. I love that little sparkly glitter, some ribbon, some little bobbleberries. Oh look, oh my gosh, look at her. She's, a lot of makers used her. She's one of our favorites too. But look how she's got that little snowball. Like she's helping this guy out, making snowballs, just using the ideology baubles. You can do alcohol ink. So Jan tinted some of them with a little bit of a light blue, and some of them she just left that pearly color. But rock candy and mica, it's just the most magical, sugary, vintage look. But what a beautiful scene, right? And the festive marquee just sets the stage for that whole perspective. So this is something that could sit on a coffee table or whatever you wanted to build on, even if you had a tray, you know, a charcuterie board that you wanted to do. We've seen festive charcuterie in the past, just it's charming. But I love also how she built with the different trees, including the addition of the alpine and the regular woodlands, because it does give a wonderful perspective. So great make, Jan. Fun makes. The vignettes are just fun because honestly, how people dream of vignettes, it's so cool. So Marina created this, and at first I thought, oh, wow, okay, she made 2 books, which that's great because she does a lot of great paper books. And then when I picked this up and this opened, I did have to peek last night. I'm not going to lie. I'll be totally honest. I'm like, I got to see what's inside, because this is not, it's a book, but this is glued together. Wait till you see it. So Marina started with a book and then carved out the inside of this book to create a little vignette. I love the little detail. I love the little dot fabric, the stitching around that ephemera. So here we start with a little storefront scene. I like also, this is what I was saying. See how she used that transparency backwards? That's what caught my eye initially. I'm like, wait a minute. These are supposed to be black. Why is this white? And then I took out the pack and I flipped it over. I'm like, brilliant. But here's another brilliant thing. She used the storefront, transparency window, and the door. So that door that's the same color as the window, she just stuck on there. So it gave that piece a totally different scene, if you will. So here you can see all those baseboard pieces. I love all of the layers that go around just to add that greenery. We've got Santa as if like Santa's leaving the workshop with all of those pieces. Charming, right? So good. Here you can see the little adornment that's painted with the berries and the bow. I love those little details, but then we're gonna open the inside. All right, we'll take this. There's a little, look at that, festive marquee on the top. See, I love that finish too. When you add a little bit of paint, you can make it just totally be part of the element. But when we open up this book, it starts with a page, which was like, oh, okay, book page, and then she added a little element. I love how she just took that little cover page and then did a little collage with some ephemera. And then we have this. So take a look at this magical little library, this holiday library that she did by carving out the center of a book. I love that. I love the little bookshelves that she created. There we have our little toy soldier that's painted, the little candy canes. We've got candy under a dome. I love the details of the drippy candles. So if you got drippy candles from Halloween, remember they are perfect for the holidays because you can paint them and sparkle them. We've got one of the little bells. It hangs there in a red color. I love the little books that she created. There's the deer, one of the small deer. And look at this. I don't know if you can see it. I know there was a sneak peek that I shared, but that's a little thimble upside down to make a barrel. And then there's a little pine cone tree in there. There's those vintage bells in the new holiday bells pack. I love, see, because they just look good sitting there. That's what I love about it. But so many details. I'm just trying to, because the light is over here, I'm trying to show you the inside of that book. But how charming is that? So many details. I love the little stocking hanging there. It's just fun, isn't that? I mean, it's really a great idea to sit there. And yes, you have to take the time by gluing the pages and then carving this out. But I think having that little surprise element is magical for Christmas, but it can also just sit up beautifully. But I just think it's charming to have like a little storybook, and then, you know, even when you open it, you start with the pages and then you have that surprise of that little vignette. But isn't he great? See that little toy soldier? You can see a window in the back. I mean, every time I look at this, there's more details and elements to share. And then a little gingerbread pudding backdrop. Magical, right? Just the ideas of those components just brought to life in such a cool, fun way of ideology. Wow. Okay, we're going to keep going. So as we get into vignettes are really a critical part of ideology, and Paula and I talk about this all the time, the importance of, I know there's a lot of structures out there, but really there's not a lot of affordable structures, and I'm very happy that Advantis has allowed us to keep so many of these vignettes in ideology. So vignettes are charred wood. It's a very lightweight wood, but it's not balsa wood, but it already comes charred, and there's many different styles and components, and you can use them many different ways. This one, much like Jan's foundational piece, this is a vignette display panel, and Emma created this one. I love the detail around the outside where she used that wool felt backdrop, so it just gives it a whole different vibe and finish. Little stitching detail, little rolling of that, and then we have this magical winter scene. I told you were going to see a lot of her, but look at how fun this is, where she's standing in front of that beautiful red door arch. There's a little crackle. I'm guessing that this back piece is probably one of the facades, the Etcetera facades from Stampers Anonymous. So Emma went in and used some crackle. So that's how you get that legit fine crackle. And then we've got this door, and look at her. I love this tiny little, so this is mummy cloth. I don't know if I've seen mummy cloth used like this for Christmas, but isn't that just charming. And there's that little mirrored star. Remember I talked about those little mirrored stars that got retired? That's why, because they're tiny. There's some great little small ones in there. Then we can see the wonderful festive marquee. You've seen it on so many makes in so many different ways. That's what makes these magic, because it just gives a wonderful theme to your makes without having to necessarily put on, you know, a sticker or a stamp. It's just so big and bold that it stands alone, and I love it. So here there's some Etcetera trims that's built on there. Wonderful little snowy mica sparkle. There's some little snowballs that Emma made from baubles. I love the little sticker. It's just so charming. And then this whole little explosion box. It's so cool that Emma used a matchbox, Marlies used a matchbox on the front, but I love the detail of using a matchbox and just having things out of it. So here she's got like the ornaments just tumbling out of it. Then you've got the little pine cones, a little tree, and a thimble. There's that little deer. That's what I was saying about the pine twine. See, that's that wired pine I shared at the beginning as well. See how it's like kind of all fringed up? A little bit of heat does that. A little bit of heat with your heat tool, it just makes it, I don't know, perfect little texture. I love the little red nose she painted, the candy cane, the little gift. That's just paper wrapped wood blocks. And then that little label frame with December. But see all that sparkly magic of mica flakes and rock candy? That's just a beautiful winter scene. And then of course set with the backdrop. So there's a backdrop, and then this is a backdrop that's just cut and split. Charming, right? Magical, magical make. I know the tumbling baubles, I agree, Paula. It's such a great detail, right? Where they're just pouring out. And since you're building it this way, you know, you just start here and you build up and you stack, and yeah, glossy accents or distress collage medium. That, like, I love distress collage medium as my glue of choice because it just disappears from everything. But the details, you know, and the stitching, gosh, it's magic. It's pure holiday magic. So this next vignette, Stacy created, and I always love, you know, the very shabby homespun holiday vibe. I always say that, you know, Stacy is our shabby chic because she just has this ability to capture vintage, but also just give it a, I don't know, it's like a softer vibe or palette. So here we're starting with a vignette tray. So this is the large vignette tray as a foundation, but I love how Stacy went in and just said, okay, you know what? I want a display here and I want a little vignette here. So that's another nice thing about a tray. You don't have to use it that way. You can block off whatever you want, whether you do, this happens to be an Etcetera trim, but it could be a piece of chipboard, whatever. Put another, maybe this is a panel, maybe it's chipboard, I'm not sure what's underneath it. But then you have a display element. So when it's setting up, you have a display, and then you have a little niche. So let's just take through. So we've got a vintage, looks like a vintage metal embroidery hoop around there that kind of frames it. There we can see the charming little paper dolls. There is that marquee again. I love it. See, metal on metal, so good. Just that reflection. Here we can see that there's some paper with a little bit of that warm and natural in there, so that just gives it that fuzzy feel. You can also use felt, sew it on there, leave all those loosey threads if you want. There's some of the layers, baseboards, there's mica. I mean, there's so much sparkly magic. But see, idea-ology can have so many themes. We've seen like lumberjack, we've seen vintage, we've seen colorful. I love it. And they just take a sewing machine and just sew through it. So easy to do. And then you just roll that paper so you can create that frayed edge. And then let's take a look at this little vignette. So first off, look at this little dangly bit here. I love that vintage candy cane. See how the candy cane just has that little touch of vintage, little grunge on there, a little brown, and then there's this tiny little tag that says wishes. There we go. So that's what I was saying, that these metal pieces have raised letters, so if you rub crayon or paint, it stays in there. But then we have a little tree. There's some little spools in there, little thimbles, some buttons. I love how she used that little cork vial for some vintage buttons. There's another little tag there. There's a little star one. But I love how the tree sits on that little spool. Isn't that charming? Great little details. So any of these little pieces, these little remnants of sewing needles, or, you know, maybe you have some, and I love the safety pin with all the safety pins on it hanging off of the needle. So any of those little trinkety bits, idea-ology really, because it is a vintage inspired line, allows you to seamlessly bring in real vintage with this vintage. it just allows your whole element, all those found objects, to be put to great use. So beautiful vignette, Stacy. I love it. Then we have another vignette. So this vignette is from Paula. So now we're taking like a vignette tray, like Stacy did. So same tray, but Paula went in and actually added boxes into the tray. So these are vignette boxes. So you can see that the boxes have different heights. And I love how she kind of created a whole new compartmental vignette using a tray and boxes. But before we look at the details on the inside, I noticed this when I was setting up. I'm like, oh, great paper. But just look at the detail of the back. I mean, come on, Paula. Like, that's a beautiful collage, and that is the back of the vignette. It's so good just to take all those little, great use of all the leftover little backdrops, all the pieces probably she had cut up from her book or vice versa, and then glued those down. You can see that some of the paper has some sparkle on there. I mean, this is a magical make. So in here, it is very festive. Everything, trying to tip it to the light, everything sparkles and shines. We've got this little bell. There you go. That bell hangs down. I love the silver bell on that chain. But then you can see all of the confection. So here she's got some little, look at those little nuggety wood pieces. We know how we love our sticks. Take some little wooden sticks in there. But I love how she has the green candy sticks in the jar. There's that beautiful holly leaf from the adornments. Remember when I told you, where do you see it used? See how dimensional that metal leaf is? A little bit of distress paint and some glitter, and you're good to go. And look how she painted that little toy soldier. So bright and festive. He's fun. He's a great addition to the lineup. The little mints, I love the little snowballs. So you can use little pom-poms, you can use baubles, but I love how she also put that in that mini dome. This one has some little beads, little festive beads. And look at that tree. I love how it sparkles. It's just that really deep green, maybe some forest moss. It's just a nice dark color because it adds a great contrast to make that snowman pop. Then we've got, this is clever. Look at that. Little alcohol ink. I'm guessing she painted that. That's fun. I just got a vintage Christmas candy container that was glass that had like all of the painting chipped away. And I said to Marina, I'm like, don't you love the chippy paint? I love how Paula replicated that, painting some alcohol inks, I'm guessing, over that glass just to make the candy stripes, and then her little label with snowballs and having all of those little, you can use baubles, you can use bubbles, you can use beads. I just think that's magic right there, that little candy stripe. So fun. And then we've got that wreath adornment, glittery, and then you can see that transparency also behind the slide frame. There, of course, is our festive marquee right across the front. So it's large enough that it can be that foundational piece to really stand on there, which I love. Yeah. Alcohol ink and hand sanitizer, she said. That's so good. Yum. And then the bottom, look at that little area. So many fun little details. Look at the pine cones. The snowy pine cones in there. See how they just sparkle? I told you, don't be fooled by just seeing those little brown pine cones. We wanted, as a maker, you can make them glittery. You can make them snowy with white. You can paint them. You can make them metallic. Whatever you want to do. And I love the candy canes and how they just come out of the corked vial. You can add a little bit of collage medium, some crackle, some glitter, make it icy, some little books and the bells. But I mean, really, it's such a, there's so many details and such a great storyline to ideology by adding different elements. And when you approach something like this, you just treat each compartment as its own storyline, right? Where you just look at this and just worry about this. Don't worry about where everything else is going to go. You slowly kind of build that up to create it. Or you can plan it first before you commit. But see, oh look, that's a great shot of that paper sparkling in the background.
It sparkles so good.
It's so good. Magical make. And again, vignette tray. Stacy did a vignette tray. Paula did a vignette tray. And Tami B also did it. Jan did a display panel. Yeah. So this one, this vignette tray, look at this. I thought it was a tray, but it isn't. This is what I'm saying. This, I was like, oh, Tami B is a tray. Until I picked it up and I'm like, nope, she didn't. So Tami B's make, as we know, like it's three-dimensional, it should be spinning. I thought this was a tray because it has the same kind of whole lineup as this one. It's a little bit longer, and here's what Tami did. She went in and took a large square vignette box. So there's the opening here and the flat side here. 2 regular vignette boxes, open here, close here, and then glued them together. So now she's got a double-sided make. This is perfect for a table, because if you use this as a table centerpiece, doesn't matter which side of the table you're sitting on, you're going to see a whole different storyline. So there's a little tiny light kind of popped in there that lights up that lantern. So that's an idea-ology lantern that you can put tiny lights in. The lantern is designed, it's got a hollow core that you can just take the tiny lights, put some of the tiny lights in there. Then she ran the rest of them at the top, so it kind of acts as that little light source from the top. We saw this in Tami's Halloween make, where she took 2 of the idea-ology barrels, stuck them together to make a large barrel, and I love how that barrel is a perfect height for that lantern. I mean, this is cabin right here. It's the cozy winter. I love that. Then we have the pine cones in there, just kept how they are. A little bit of snowfall grit paste to create the most beautiful snowy icy scene. The tree, this is what I was saying that I noticed. Remember the pine twine that Emma used that I shared that's wired? See how Tami just used it as little pine branches? I love that. Where she just cut off little snippets and stuck them in so you've got little bits of pine. I'm so glad I have some, because I'm totally doing that. And look how she added it around the lantern with a little pine cone. Yeah, I'm on that. And then you have a scene. So you've got that window, the baseboard window, then a layer with the tree in the background. And I love how she's got just 2 of those wintry snapshots. But wait, there's more. Look. She's got the transparency shattered over these Christmas photos. Remember how I was saying that the shattered transparency, it's not just Halloween. It's not just creepy. It's very magical. And when you put it over a photo, it's almost like, you know, they threw a snowball through the window, because she's got a little bit of that snowfall grit paste. Can you see it when the light hits it? So it's got a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of texture. But I love how she did that icy treatment really around where that opens, almost like the cold air is coming in and frosting it. Just such a great detail. Side 1. And we flip it over.
Man.
Whole other storyline. Take a look at this. So here we have the backdrop of that beautiful, I love that ledger. Then we've got these 3. Love how she tinted their plaid shirts. And then she created, and she put in a little note, so she kind of explained. So she wanted her salvage figures to have that kind of hand-carved look, like they, you know, how they do that carving with a chainsaw. So I love the treatment she did on the salvage, because it really highlights that cut aspect of it. But you can see here that the tiny lights also come through here. And this is the thing to know about tiny lights. You can have 1 strand, because it's only 1. And because all you have to do is drill holes, you drill a hole, you start in the lantern, you go up here, drill another hole, you come here, you go back. So all of this, both sides, is still just use 1 strip of tiny lights, because they're tiny and they're wired and they're flexible and you can hide them wherever you want. But I love how it creates this highlight. So here you can see how Tami went, there we go. She did beautiful brown paint, and I'm sure she's going to share the details of this technique. But really made them look wood grain. I think it's fab. There's that little pine wreath, the alpine trees. I love the pine cone. See this little pine twine? I've never loved it so much until this year when I see it, because I love those little pieces sticking out. I love the collage of the tags. And then we get on this side, and there's our little wood carved snowman. See how it really brings out that carved detail of the salvage figures in brown. Pine cones, the trees. I love those little wood grain elements. Now these, what the importance of these, besides that they look cool, is they do hide the tiny lights. So when you stick tiny lights on the top, you often want to put a little something down. Otherwise, this would be your view. You would see them. And so just remember that when you want to hide them, it could just be, these happen to be Etcetera trims, but it could be anything just to kind of deflect the light and really create that glow on the top. And then we have the deer. Look at, really shows. Look at, I love it. It's so fun. And this was another clever thing. So Tami said, you know, because wood slices were gone, and that is sad, and she wanted really tiny wood slices, she just used the bases of all her trees. So she's like, I just took off the wood base on all of the woodland trees, because they come with that, and that's where she got her wood slices, because the bases of these trees are wood. So she just painted that outside edge, added a little, this is all snowfall grit paste. That's why it looks so icy texture. all of this. Snowfall for the win. It is, to me, it's so much better than texture paste for snow because it's got that icy look. But I love that icy winter look. But yeah, good idea for wood slices, right? So there we go. There's our double-sided woodland make that I thought was a tray, but is really 3 vignette boxes. Boom. So good.
So when I
so
unpacked
magical.
This,
Yes.
I thought that's an awesome vignette tray, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's so
Yeah.
it's long, and I thought, oh, maybe you had something new that I didn't know about. So I don't grab a vignette tray. I'm like,
Nope.
I don't
That's
get
what
it.
I said. How do you have openings on both sides?
Yeah.
It's very clever. Yeah. Speaking of clever, makers often transform things. Makers will often look at something and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to take something, but I'm going to make it a little different. And that is just what Jan did on this. So it starts out as a small tray. So there's the tray. And I do love the crackle paste that Jan added to this. It has tiny lights on it. So that starts as, because the trays come in large and small. They come in a set of 2. So this is the smaller tray. But if you, there we go. That'll fit on frame. But if you see it, it's like, whoa, how cool. So this is where the Etcetera facades come in from Stampers Anonymous. So these are made out of that thick board that Jan put two panels on to create a whole new shape. So you can use that and start with a foundation so you have something to build in, but when you see it, it just has a different shape. So let's light this up and see. Oh man, magical. See what's inside. So this is where the tiny lights Christmas come in. They're colorful, they're fun, they have just such a beautiful look to them. So if you look inside the storefront window that Jan created, so here we start with the wreath. There's a little element with some bricks on there. I love the storefront window inside. I'll try to balance a little bit of both of the light. You can see the candy canes through the window, and it's almost like 2 shelves because there's a little ledge here, and then down on the bottom you can see some more candy and confection through the snow. But see, it draws you in, doesn't it? It draws you into that story. Then we have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and I love the bottom. I love seeing the salvage Santa, how we've got that figure, the big figure with the big deer. See, because it's a great statement piece. When you have those bigger figures, oh man, so good. And I love the vintage painting, but it's just Santa with his reindeer. There's some confections down there, a little bit of this. You could use crinkle ribbon if you have any left, or you can just use seam binding ribbon and you can color it. And there's that. See, I told you, the pine cones, holly leaves, all those details I shared at the beginning, because they're just so plain, you might just overlook it until you realize, like, wow, just a little bit of rock candy glitter on that brown pine cone, done. You could add paint, you could add whatever, but it has a lot of detail. Like rock candy for the win. It's a magical thing. And I love that candy backdrop and the plaid in the front, but super festive. It's like Santa's little workshop where he's just downstairs just talking business, and then you've got all that. Yeah, he's like, we got a lot to do. So yeah, magic. I know I can tell a story. I can just go into a whole nother space. He is. So this next one, Vicki created, and I just have to say, sometimes I fall in love with a make. I shake my head, and I just can't believe that I've designed product that somebody can make this with. It's that time where it's like, I don't know, all the feels. So this one Vicki created starting out with an Etcetera tag as the base. Then she used the Etcetera facades. That's where this great shield shape comes, and it has a cutout window. And then she used the Etcetera trims. She made them all look really robust because she took the wood from the idea-ology backdrop. So we have a paper that's just like panels of wood. So it really looks like it's built of wood. And then used these nails. So again, those are the idea-ology tack nails. They're very easy to bend and curve. I think sometimes people underestimate, like, that's why we did these nails, because they're not made out of a hardened steel. They're made out of just an alloy like we do our charms. So you can still hammer them, but when you bend them, they actually take on a great curvature. But what she did is she created a cuckoo clock, like a vintage inspired cuckoo clock. So if you know, on the cuckoo clocks, they have those weighted pine cones that wind the clock. That's what she used these pine cones for, to create those weights. And she did metallics, a little bit of, you could do foundry wax, you can do alloy, but the foundry wax is what's going to give it that metal, and then just strung them on with the chain and did little screw eyes. There we have the festive marquee that just kind of, I don't know, it creates the foundation. But take a look. So she made these toy soldiers look like they're made out of metal. They're like old tin toys. And her finish, I mean, I asked her how she did it, and she told me all the steps, and I'm like, I still need to see it. So I can't wait for her to share this. She did say she was going to share it. But I love how she used both sizes in the same make. And they do. They look just like old. See how they have that metallic shine to them? They just look like old toys. And then in the back, taking that Sizzix die. So that's a Sizzix die, that timepiece. Then there's gears in the back. So the gears could either be idea-ology or they could be die cuts you have. And she made the whole clock working inside the circle of the facade. And then she used that transparency over the top. And then of course the alpine trees, because they're skinny enough to create the scene. All of that sits on that little ledge. I mean, that's just freaking fab. And there are the jingle bells. So you know right there that it had my heart, because those vintage jingle bells are everything. But the finishes, and again, how makers transform those components that start out white, that start out plain paper, that start out, you know, just completely blank, that they can tell a storyline, and every maker has a story to tell. And I love when they just let themselves tell it. Instead of judging and guessing how crazy this idea, will people get it? Who cares? You do you, and when you do it, you'll just see how much happiness it brings to so many people because of your style. And your style doesn't have to look like anybody else's. I think that's amazing. It's very cool. Isn't it cool?
Stunning.
It's really cool. We've got just a few more. We're kind of getting into, like, this one Emma created. And again, we're going into vignette. So this one, she used 2 trays. So I love how one tray is the base, one tray is the top. And she created this whole little toy shop. I believe, yeah, I'm feeling underneath. I believe it lights up. Yes, there we go. So let's just tip it down. Take a look at this scene that Emma created. So again, it's a vignette tray, and that's that beautiful brick paper that I shared that's in the backdrops. I mean, look at that. That's legit. That just looks like you did all the texture paste and painting, but that's the backdrops. So Emma went around that tray and just did the bricks. Then she has another tray on the top that creates that little scene. Oh, then there's another vignette. I just turned it. You see there's another vignette inside the tray that creates that little storefront. Because I was wondering, I'm like, did she build some walls? Nope. And then framed it with the Etcetera trims. Yeah, these trims are so important. That's why, like, you need packs of Etcetera trims, because you never know if you need a shelf, a ledge, a divider, a break. They're just really, they're important. But I love how she made just that little roof line with the trims. And then there is her storefront window. Look at how the colorful tiny lights just light up all the magic inside the shop. There's candy, there's little gifts in there, all the little ephemera, and that wonderful leaded window with just a little bit of the snowfall grit paste. That's the distressed snowfall, because it's going to dry with that icy look. But yeah, it's like, welcome in. And then there's that little toy soldier. He's perfect. Oh, I love his eyebrows. Oh no, it's not his eyebrows. Oh, see, I thought it was, see, look. I gotta see if the camera's picking it up. Okay, I'm gonna hold it here. Oh, it did. Okay, so watch right above his eyes. That's the top of his hat. And then when I turn it, see his eyebrows where it looks like he's like an angry, I'm like, ooh, he means business. See? It's not, it's just a reflection of that.
So
Isn't that hilarious? That's so funny. Anyway, yeah, there we go. I love how Emma painted him. Such great details, so fun. And just look at all the details surrounding that shop. Like, that's a shop I want to go in. That's just like festive fun. Here you can see the urns. That's what I was talking about. All of these components that we do for seasonal. Those are the Halloween urns that didn't come back, but if you have them, they are perfect for the trees, especially the new Alpine, because they're tall and skinny. There's the drippy candle. There's a little bit of that pine twine. The candle stands, I love how she used the barrel. And again, she just loves the spilling of the ornaments. I also love, this is from Halloween, just that metal gate and how she just used a piece of it. Like, doesn't lock anything in. It's just a great little gate piece that she added onto there, that she could put this little bit of ephemera around the chain, a little wreath, the backdrops. And then on this side, look how she just took some canvas cloth, take a little bit of cloth, and then made a little little sack for all the candy, all the confections. And I also love the figure stand. See that pointy finger? What a great thing is like getting to the shop here. But see, a whole little setting, a whole little stage of a storefront, and even down to this little, I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh, there we go. Just using a little, it's like a little burlap as a store mat, and then more sticks. I mean, the details are just, it's so fun. It's so fun to create like this for ideology. Just let your imagination run wild. But I love seeing all of these elements to create something magical.
I want to go shopping in
So
that store.
good. I know. That's what I said. Like, I want to go in.
Yeah, it's
I
so
do,
awesome.
especially with that pointy finger. It's like, get in here. Yeah. But then this guy is like, he'll smile at you, and then he won't.
Don't mess with
You didn't buy anything? You didn't get enough candy? Okay. There you go. It's super fun. All right. 2 more makes. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to do my best. I have 2 more makes. I have one from Luise, one from Marlies, and they're both like, this is extreme Christmas making. Luckily, they have great YouTube channels, and I'm sure they're going to talk about probably the details that I might not be able to fit in here, but it's made up, it has a bunch of, I'm not sure if it's vignettes or what they're made from, but it's a lot of ins and outs. So I'm just going to try to hold on to it and just in a second. I'll light it up because I know there's tiny lights under here. Okay. So this has like, there's an advent, so you can see the little boxes. See those boxes with numbers there? And over here, there's some boxes. And yes, there, I think that's the countdown. So you have that and some there. There might even be, we might even have a couple in the front. So these, hold on, these little paper boxes. So Luise created these boxes probably in a vignette. I think this might be the, I think this is the vignette card file because I can see these little ledges. So I love the little idea of making paper boxes with the little countdown, little detail of that. Then we've got, so there's a 24. So yeah, there's probably other little boxes, yeah, hidden with numbers throughout. But I love this winter scene. I love how, can you see how the snowballs light up? Those little orbs, how she put those are actually bubbles. So baubles, of course, are pearls. Those are the ones that come out for Christmas. But the bubbles that we do for Halloween, you can still make snowballs and then add that little winter. But see, as you turn, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't really fit it on camera. But there's all sorts of elements. There's, looks like a little buggy in there. Little winter trees. There's trees that are hanging upside down, so kind of like big frozen icicles. There's the festive marquee on there. Then we've got, looks like a little, some other little countdowns. I don't know if these open. So they're little rolled paper tubes. Then when we get here, see there's some more numbers, some other elements. I don't know where this, oh yeah, it just hangs here. Okay. I can't zoom out, so I'm just going to try to move. So here you've got, there's a little drippy candle that hangs here. I love the little hat. Look at that little hat she put on the deer. That's so cute. Another number. So, oh, see that? Look at that. That's another little element that opens. I mean, seriously, the construction of this alone is like mind-boggling. This is like taking a book and then dimensionalizing it with things, because I'm guessing, yeah, this might even be, see, this might be a box as well, because it's got a little number that probably comes out. Oh yeah, see, like with a magnet. So many parts and pieces. And again, they both, you'll see, this is Luise's and you'll see Marlies. They both do YouTube channels. So here there's like a little lantern made out of a bottle. There's some great little die cut pieces. There's the pine cones. See the pine cones and the bells? So cool. Then when we come around here, let's see, did I light that up? I think I did. Let's see. I don't know. I got to see if I'm flipping the right switches. No, that one's that one. That one's, I think this one. Oh yeah, I see. It lit up on the inside. So here you can, sorry. Here you can see, again, there's a tree with bells on the outside. There's a red door. I love the, look at that. Can you see the, I don't know if I can't. Oh boy. Sorry. Well, stuff's falling out here. Can you grab that? Yeah, sure. Thanks. So this one you can see has got like crackly, I love that detail, crackly glass on the door. And then there's a little lantern. I can't point because this is a two-hander. This thing is heavy. You can see Love that little grit and grunge. There's another little number there. And the bells, I mean, so many details, so much work as we go around. Then you can see, I love there's a little pine. See how the pine kind of goes around there? There we go. There's some baubles there. A little letter to Santa there. I mean, just so much. Oh, there's actually 3 tiny lights. Oh, see, there we go. I was going to say, I thought the tree lit up. There's actually three tiny lights under there. There we go. So that lights up the tree in color. Can you guys see that? So clever, so fun. Just little elements everywhere. That's a little, I do love those numbers. Oh, look at that. Little cookies and milk. Oh my gosh. And carrots for Rudolph. Charming. Look at that little detail in a tin. So take a little tin. I mean, like I said, there's got to be a bazillion hidden details throughout this whole thing. I do love 317. Great number. Hold on. There's something. What am I trying to look down here? Oh, there we go. So there's like a little, there's a little book stack with a lantern too. I mean, just look at the scale of this. It's massive. And then that just looks like maybe cut out numbers to create a rooftop, probably cut out of wood or chipboard, just like, yeah, a lot of stuff. Amazing work. I think that's great. And I love how all the makers just do what they do. Just so good. Because in the world of making should not be a competition. That's what I think. Making should just be what inspires. And I think that's the beauty of it. It inspires them to just create with what they imagine. There you go, Mario.
Whew,
then
great.
This one.
Such fun.
So this one, I'm not sure how I'm going to fit this one on frame either. So this one is from Marlies. So this she constructed a house. This also has tiny lights. So there's little switches here. These are on the side. So let me turn these on. All right. So this one starts out with a tray. And having that winter tray, I do agree. It is about, like, honestly, perfect philosophy. Everyone just does what they do. Here, I'm guessing this is a display panel down here. So the house, let me see if there's a front and a back. There we go. I'm going to try to turn this. So this one, Marlies created this. So here you can see, so I'm just guessing the house is probably just built out of maybe pieces of chipboard or wood. It's pretty, oh, there's that festive marquee. Look at that, all snowy on the top with some pine cones. And then we've got the little paper. I love how they're standing in front of the door. There's that wreath. Again, more of the pine twine. Well, at least it's nice. They're using the pine twine when it's retired, so that's good. At least people can stock up on it now, because it's really good to see it used. Then we've got the little, hold on, I gotta hold on to that. I got little candies right here in little packages. And then down here looks like some die cuts. See I'm just pointing down there, little holly and the berries. I love the little post box there. That's very cute. I love the roof. The roof is very wintry, right? It's got so much like texture. It reminds me of like making gingerbread, like shredded wheat. I love that thatched roof. It's very cool. Inside, that's what lights up. Let me see if I can turn it to light. There's a Christmas tree in there, little woodland tree with lights in that red window. And I love it through that little leaded glass. And then as we turn here, oh, he's got a little axe. That's clever. Oh, and a saw. Look at that, building the tools. And there's some idea-ology backdrops and a paper doll. So these two things are idea-ology, and that backdrop is idea-ology. These pieces are all made. The saw, these aren't idea-ology elements, but clever, really clever. Let's go to this side. So here we've got a paper doll and backdrops. And again, these are made. So Marlies made all those elements. So probably made maybe out of paper or chipboard. Little skis there. All right, and we gotta set this down. Grab it this way. Oh my gosh, my
zoom out feature.
I know my back is like I'm hunching down. Okay, here we go. Let's just turn this one. So here, I love how the tiny lights are reflecting on that layers piece. You can see again that little trim that she did along the bottom with the baubles. Very cute. And then you've got the little wintry deer. I also love that little bit of that little snow texture. There's some pine cones. See the pine cones? It just gives such a great setting, right? And I love how the trees are clustered together. Beautiful, interesting. There's more of those mirrored stars. Again, charming little details that people use. So much work and love go into every make. And again, on something like this, it is a good thing that both of those makers do YouTube, because I'm sure they break down not only what they did, but often they share techniques on how they did it. But the makes are just incredible. Idea-ology Christmas, like pure festive inspiration.